Hey everyone, Tesla Tom here. Thank you so much for joining us. On today's video, we'll be documenting our road trip from Sydney to Canberra. Come join us. Okay, so just a few things I want to show you about this car, which is a 2023 Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive, literally 3 days old, before we head off on the road trip. So first up, obviously, our beautiful aftermarket wheel covers for the 19-inch wheels, thanks to EV Base. I'll leave a link in the video description below. Very easy to install, and I just whip off the old Gemini covers, and it's very easy to take off like that. You just do it around the wheel and then put this new one on, and then you just find the inlet or the inset for the valve inlet, and that's very easy, and it just snaps back on like that, like very straightforward. And it covers the alloys as well, so prevents damage to your rims, and much easier to replace this than to repair the rims. Next up to show you is the aftermarket mud flaps. This is from Autopilot. I'll leave a link in the video description below. This is to prevent, I guess, all the runoff from the wheel splashing your car. So this is behind all four wheels. Very easy to install, by the way. Okay, so inside the boot, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. We've got 2 electric scooters. They're currently actually illegal in New South Wales, hence our road trip today to test them out. And so look out for that video when we do a full review of these electric scooters from Mearth, or M-E-A-R-T-H. And also a few bags as well we're carrying. And also some suitcases. There's actually a suitcase below the subfloor area. It's pretty cool, very deep in that subfloor area, which we put a suitcase in there. And also we've put some jackets as well in the extra subfloor area, which is a bit shallower, but also good enough for towels and jackets too. I want to show you some more aftermarket accessories here, just in this corner. I'll just move the scooter out of the way just a bit. Just move this one. Okay. So these are actually covers from Autopilot that cover this extra bit here, this pocket. I'm just coming around this way. And they are very cool. They look almost OEM. In fact, they're very close to that. So you can't tell that they're actually aftermarket accessories. Well worth looking at. And then some buckets, some bin buckets. Again, all these will be in the video description. I've put the scooter chargers in there. Some extra duct tape. You never know when duct tape is needed. And yeah, look at that, it sort of fits there and just provides extra bit of flooring, right? So that's continuous with the OEM floor, just underneath the Jowua mat, right there. And that's sort of almost seamless, very good. And the liner is from Jowua. I'll leave a link in the video description below. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is the Tesla app has been updated to, I kid you not, version 4.20.69. This was updated this morning. And the major update from this app is the fact that you can now actually navigate from the app and then send it to your car, which is really handy on road trips. So for example, I want to go to the Tesla Canberra supercharger. Okay, so I've typed in Canberra Tesla and Tesla supercharger, Catalina Drive, PLEGO ACT, which is the Canberra Tesla supercharger next to the airport. So if we press that, and then from here you can see that lots of information here for trip planning. So we've got a 3-hour, 21-minute drive, 299.1 kilometers, 8% on arrival. It's currently 98% state of charge. You can also edit that as well, so edit the route from there. And then you can also set battery percentage. So for example, if you want to set another percentage state of charge, you can do that. But I will stick with what the car is telling me, which is 98%, and that's exactly what the car is, 98%. Asking me to stop in Goulburn for 10 minutes to top up to 26% before arriving in Canberra Tesla Supercharger with 8% state of charge. So we're going to try to replicate this trip planning and see how accurate it is. And from here you can send it to the car. So let's do that, send to the car. Okay, so there it is there. That's very handy. So it will arrive in Goulburn at 2:04 p.m. with 30% state of charge, charge for 15 minutes. Yep, and then McDonald's for some reason, asking you to go to McDonald's.
Knows us too well.
At 3:14, and then the final journey is this one here. Oh, this is actually McDonald's at Tesla Supercharger Canberra. That's where the Tesla Supercharger is, at the McDonald's in Canberra. It's interesting. It's not quite the same as what it shows on the app, because the app is saying that we'll reach Goulburn at 26% state of charge, asking us to charge for 10 minutes whereas in the car it's saying 30% charge for 15 minutes, and then arrive at Canberra with 22% state of charge. So it's a bit of a discrepancy there. So I guess we'll just follow the car because that's what I'm looking at when I'm driving. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. That's the preparation I need to go to Canberra. And I think that's, yeah, we're pretty much good to go. So yeah, stay tuned and follow us on the way. Okay everyone, so we're just crossing the Sydney Harbour Bridge now, and I've also just put it onto off avoid tolls, so happy to use tolls. I had it on avoid tolls before. We're also now going to add a stop as well. Okay, so to add a stop, you press this button here and then you press add stop. And we want to have lunch, so we're going to go to McDonald's, Sutton Forest, Southeast Corner. Press that.
Drive south on M1 for 4.5 kilometers.
See how the car is very smart, and it keeps the navigation to the supercharger after lunch. And it's quite seamless that way, so very handy. And as I said, we took off the avoid tolls in the settings, so show you that. Go to settings, and there, just take off avoid tolls just to get there a little bit quicker on the freeways here in Sydney. And one more thing I want to show you is this accessory here, which is the Jowua MagSafe charger. So I've got it currently on Waze there. I love Waze, as people that watch my channel regularly know, because it's user populated, helps picks up any hazards, including any police patrol as well when you're driving on the open road. And if I get Joy just to take the phone off, it's a magnet, as you can see there, and it's suction cup to the back of the screen, available from Jowua. Again, I'll leave that in the video description for you guys to check out. All right, we'll keep driving and we'll touch base shortly. All right, so we're just going to go for lunch, and I'm just going to leave the car like this, not touching the navigation, and then we'll come back and see whether we can just press continue trip and head on our way to the next stop. Okay, so we've just finished our meal and back in the car, and we can continue our trip, which is good. But interestingly, the car is now telling us we can go all the way to Canberra without stopping in Goulburn, as it previously wanted us to, with 25% state of charge, which is super handy. But what I might do is actually navigate instead to Canberra. Let's navigate to Canberra Tesla Supercharger over here. All right, so from here, calculating, it's going to take us 1 hour and 26 to the Tesla Supercharger. Now I changed it to the Tesla Supercharger because when we get closer it'll start to precondition the vehicle, which is better for charging rate. And again, we don't need to stop at Goulburn, which is fantastic. So we can go all the way to Canberra, 1 hour 26, 143 kilometers. We should reach there at 3:21 p.m. All right, everyone, I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on how to engage Autopilot, and that is with the right stalk. Double tap down like this, and you'll hear that noise, that chime, and then you'll see on the screen there 2 tram track lines like that. And just say, for example, you are not at the speed limit, which we are at the moment, but let's just say you're like a bit slower like that, right? If you want to match the speed limit, you can either press the speed sign there, or with your right stalk, hold down, and then it'll match the speed sign there, 110. And if you want to roll up and down, right scroll wheel here, you can change how fast the maximum Autopilot speed is, 105. We'll go higher like that. Okay. And also, if you want to change the distance following the car ahead, leading car, this scroll wheel again, just scroll to the right or left, and you'll see the numbers down here change accordingly. So 5 down to 2, sorry, and then it goes all the way up to 7. And because the Autopilot is now camera based, the maximum you can go down to is 2, so you can't follow number 1 distance until further notice. And the top speed is 140 kilometers an hour for camera based Autopilot. So I'll leave it on 2 for now. And now we don't have FSD or EAP, which is Enhanced Autopilot. We didn't pay for it, and we probably won't at this stage, because basic Autopilot is included, as you can see, works pretty well. And if you want lane change, because we used to have the FSD package, and we could engage auto lane change quite easily. It would automatically change lanes for you. But in this situation, without EAP or FSD, you can lane change like this. Just if I take my hand slightly off the wheel, if I indicate like that, it won't break autopilot or disengage. But if I just nudge the wheel just a little bit, then you can just change lanes manually like this. And then because I've got automatic indicators on, you can either indicate all the way up or just half engage the indicator and it'll be fine. And then when you're back in this right lane here, you can double tap the right stalk down and back onto autopilot. There we go, there's a police car ahead there. Must have flagged someone down speeding. And because the car ahead slowed down, then this car, because it's on traffic aware cruise control, it slows down accordingly to match the speed. And then once we get past that truck, hopefully, we can get back in this left lane. Okay, so I said before you can either do half indicate or full indicate to change lanes. So if I just do half indicate like this, it actually requires a bit more force to disengage autopilot. So if you are lane changing on the freeway, I would actually recommend doing a full left or right to change lanes. Okay, so we're past the truck now, so full indicate down, and then see how I just gently nudge the wheel and autopilot disengaged, and I could get back in this lane and the indicators go off automatically. Alright, so that's just a quick tutorial on autopilot, and I also just want to show you guys this roof shade we've got on our glass ceiling here, or glass roof. And this is courtesy of Jowua once again. Very easy to install, affordable solution for those sunny days. Not too warm today, but still makes the cabin quite cozy with the glass roof sunshade, courtesy of Jowua. Again, I'll leave a link in the video description below. Alright everyone, I just wanted to run through the Tesla Energy app here, and it just tells you how well you're traveling compared to what the car's projection was at the start of the journey. So as you remember, I restarted the navigation from the stop in Sutton Forest. As you can see, initially it was doing better than projection with that green line there, or the green area under the curve. And then from then on, just put autopilot back on, from then on it became sort of yellow, so we're doing worse than what was projected. And a couple of reasons why here. It says here, staying below 110 kilometers an hour would have saved 0.8% this trip. Now, I possibly may have gone a little bit over 110 a couple of times to overtake vehicles, so that could have cost us a bit there in energy. And then it says also 4.2 kilometer an hour tailwind, wind from the southeast cost 0.2% this trip. So I guess overall, if we listen to these tips, then we might be able to save some energy, and we'll see whether we can get closer to that black line as we get closer to Canberra. Also, very useful, all this information down here. One more thing, it's going to cost 5.2% more than the trip projection at this rate. This information down here is the energy consumption from the different aspects of the trip. So driving, 19.4%. And this is consumption versus trip projection, so we're using 4.4% more than what was projected. Climate, 0.9% of the energy used so far, which is 0.7% less than projected. And then battery conditioning, nothing yet, because we're not close to the supercharging just yet, but that does cost energy to warm the battery up. Elevation, it's costing us 1.6% more than projected, so yeah, it's interesting. I thought Tesla would take into account the topography and the elevation in the journey. Anyway. And then everything else, 0.6% for everything else, which is 0.1% more than projected. So charging devices and everything else in the car as well. So yep, lots of interesting stats there for those who are interested. Okay, so welcome to Canberra Supercharger. We've arrived with 14% state of charge, and Sentry mode is unavailable under 20%. Anyway, let's plug in. Okay, walking outside. Okay. Tesla charging only. Oh, this is new. No smoking sign next to the Tesla charger. Now I've got my iPhone with the stopwatch as well, so I'm going to get that ready to press start when I plug in. So let's get the top one. We want the CCS2 plug. Okay, and just press this button here. Okay, let's plug in. Okay, and let's start our phone. Okay, so we're underway. We're going to time how long it takes to get from 14 to 100% here in Canberra. Okay, so ramping up. Let's see how fast we can get at this low state of charge. Now keeping in mind we are sharing the charger with the car next door, so it may not be as fast, possibly because it's sharing power. And there it is right there. We're only getting 32 kilowatts. You'd expect normally to be higher than that. That's okay. We'll see if it does go up. High usage supercharger station, charge limit set to 80%, adjust limit if needed. Yep, we'll see what happens. And look, the charge rate has gone up now, so it's 65 kilowatts. That's probably where it will stay because the top speed for this charger is 130 kilowatts. So unless that car next to us finishes early, then that's probably all we'll get at this rate. And some tips here. Find the fastest supercharger, navigate to the supercharger, arrive with 20% battery or less to maximize charge rate, leave space between cars, move your car after charging, idle fees to apply when there's more than half the stalls occupied by vehicles. Okay, and we've got our stopwatch still at this stage, so 1 minute 30 has passed. It says 40 minutes remaining to get to 80%, so let's see whether we can beat the estimate. Okay, so a bit of a score check. 23 minutes have passed and we're at 51% state of charge, 64 kilowatts. So the speed has not changed at all. The car next to us is still parked there, so I can see someone trying to get in the car. So hopefully when they move, we'll see a speed increase. So stay tuned. Okay, good news everyone. The car next door is literally unplugging and they're about to leave. Let's just see whether the rate increases at all. Great experiment here, unfolding in front of us. Yep, they have unplugged. Let's watch. I mean, the only caveat is that our state of charge possibly might be too high for this experiment to work, but hopefully within a few seconds it'll calibrate. There you go, that car is heading off now. So let's check back on the screen. Okay, so 28 minutes in, 15 minutes remaining, 59% state of charge. It still says 64 kilowatts, so I think we've probably reached that crossover point anyway, where it would have been 64 kilowatts regardless, because it's a fairly high state of charge anyway. So maybe initially when it was 15% when we first plugged in, it probably at half the rate it would have been in terms of kilowatts, but I think now that we've reached fairly high state of charge, it probably doesn't make too much of a difference. It would have been 60 kilowatts anyway, with or without a car next to us. So either way, we'll keep waiting and we'll reach 80% in about 15 minutes time. Okay, so 78% state of charge and we are still fairly high, 58 kilowatts there, so it's not bad. It's maintained its charging speed even at this high state of charge. 5 minutes remaining, and on my stopwatch we're, yep, 40 minutes, so you know, it's pretty accurate, the Tesla prediction or projection at the start of the charging session here in Canberra. Alright, time to unplug very soon. Okay, stop the clock. Stop the clock at 40 minutes, 45 seconds, 80%, charge complete. Let's go unplug. Okay, push the button here, wiggle it out, turn around, and seat it back in the cradle like so. Okay, thank you very much, Tesla Supercharger. Always a reliable charging network. No range anxiety or charger reliability anxiety at all with the Tesla Supercharger network when it's available here in Australia. Alright, time to go back home. Let's type in navigation to Forestville, New South Wales. That's where we're going to go. Okay, Forestville, New South Wales, Australia. 257 kilometres away. 64% state of charge currently. Let's see, it's telling us to go to Goulburn first at 4 o'clock. Charge for 25 minutes when it's 33%. And then we should be able to, let's just pull this up here. Oh, sorry, this one. Okay, whoop. Okay, so first stop will be Goulburn, and then Forestville with 15% remaining at 6:40 p.m. Alright, let's head off. Okay, so here we are at Goulburn and we're on 35% state of charge. We better top up, otherwise Forestville will be minus 20%, so not enough to get home at this stage. Let's go. Alright. Grab the top charger as always, top plug. Just press this button here. We'll just plug in. Yep, looks like it's going. Okay, so we'll keep charging until I'm happy that we get a reasonable state of charge when we arrive at Forestville. Alright, touch base soon. Okay, so the car is telling me that you have enough energy to continue on your trip, so we'll press OK and we shall unplug the car. Okay, so at this point I was just showing you how effective the aftermarket mud flaps are from Autopilot, and you can see how much debris and splashback it collected from the wheels as opposed to it landing on your car and potentially damaging it. So yeah, I do highly recommend installing these if you go on road trips. I'll leave a link, of course, in the video description below. Check them out from Autopilot. Alright everyone, welcome to the summary section of the road trip video, and I want to go through some stats from this road trip from Sydney to Canberra and return, including distance covered, charging time and costs, and comparisons to a equivalent petrol vehicle. So let's start with the Sydney to Canberra leg. So in this top corner here you see home to Sutton Forest, stopping for lunch, and then Sutton Forest to Canberra. 100% charge all the way down to 15% in Canberra. You'll see that we did not actually charge en route from Sydney to Canberra at all. So this 2023 Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive LFP battery chemistry made it all the way from Sydney to Canberra, a distance of about almost 300 kilometers. In fact, yes, just over 300 kilometers, 303 kilometers without charging the vehicle at all. Fantastic. And then charging in Canberra at the Tesla Supercharger, 15 to 79%, took 40 minutes, 39 kilowatt hours used or topped up. And the usual cost would be $20 and $21.47 if we had to pay for the Tesla Supercharger, which at the time of the posting was 55 cents per kilowatt hour. Because we've got so much supercharging credit, thanks to all the generous viewers over the years using our referral link, that was at no cost to us, which is great. And then moving on in Canberra and surrounds during the 24 hours we were there, we dropped the car down from 80% to 64%, covering 26 kilometers of driving around town. And then driving back from Canberra to Sydney, so we started the car at 64% in Canberra and arrived in Goulburn with 35%, and then that was 98 kilometers. And then we charged in Goulburn from 35 to 75%, 24 minutes worth of charging, 24 kilowatt hours added, $13.02 overall, again free to us. And then we were going to go home, but then we stopped at Macquarie Park for dinner, so 75 to 29% right there. And then that was 191 kilometers. And then Macquarie Park, we charged from 29 to 53%. That was 14 minutes. And then we added 14 kilowatt hours at the cost of $7.94 for a usual Model Y without credit, like us. And then Macquarie Park to home, another 16 kilometers. And we charged at home overnight from 50 to 100%. Because it's an LFP battery, you can charge to 100%. And because it's AC charging, we just left it overnight. And we topped up 31 kilowatt hours. And because of our Powershop plan, it was $4.69. Now, normally it'd be a bit less than that, but because we charged on a Sunday morning, the rates were a little bit high because the Powershop EV cheap tariff is from midnight to 4 a.m. Monday to Friday. So it would have been probably about almost half the cost of this amount, but because we charged on a weekend, a little bit more expensive. But nevertheless, $4.69 is pretty good. So overall, for a regular Model Y owner without supercharging credit, it would have cost $47.13 for this trip. Because we have all this supercharging credit, it only cost $4.69 for us. If you look at, say, a Toyota RAV4 hybrid with a 6 litre per 100 kilometre efficiency, paying petrol at $2 per litre, the equivalent journey would have cost $76.08 in petrol. If you've got a car that's has an efficiency of 10 litres per 100 kilometres using petrol at $2 per litre, then it's $126.80. So your petrol car, if you own one, may fall somewhere between this spectrum here. But as you can see, much cheaper driving Tesla Model Y for Sydney to Canberra and return.
So the highway driving time was 6 hours and 17 minutes. Total driving time and charging time was 7 hours and 35 minutes. So 83% of the time was spent driving, and 17% of the time was spent charging, which is actually pretty similar to other times we've driven a Tesla, including our previous Tesla Model 3, on trips elsewhere in Australia. So that's quite consistent, that figure. 83% of the time is spent driving, 17% of the time is spent charging. So the average DC charging session or supercharging session was 26 minutes, and the total DC charging time 1 hour 16. And then having the car from 100% all the way down to 14 or 15%, and then back home at 100% again, back here. Calculating that efficiency is 178 watt-hours per kilometer. Now, the EV database efficiency, which is a website I normally use to look at real-world efficiency, quoted an efficiency of the Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive at 167 watt-hours per kilometer. You might be asking why our car was less efficient than the quoted one. And that's because we had 4 passengers, almost 3 adults really. My son's a teenager now. 2 scooters. Those scooters weigh quite a bit actually. So between the 2 scooters, it's about 40 kilograms extra of weight. And then luggage. And then we're traveling 110 kilometers an hour on the highway most of the time. So the faster you drive, generally the efficiency will drop as well on highways for EVs. So that explains why the efficiency was such and compared to the EV database efficiency. Alright everyone, that's it from me, Tesla Tom, from Ludicrous Feed, and that is our Sydney to Canberra to Sydney return. I really hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please leave a comment below. Love to hear from you. Otherwise, stay safe until the next Ludicrous Feed video. Happy charging.